The night was cold in the mountains. The wind cut through the trees, and the sound of rushing water echoed far below. A young man named Daniel walked along a narrow trail, his backpack heavy, his breath white in the air. He had come for peace, for quiet days in nature, but this night would give him something he never imagined. At first he thought it was only the sound of the river, but then he stopped. There was another sound, a sharp cry, weak, almost lost in the roar of water. He froze, his heart racing. He listened again. Yes, it was real. Someone was down there in the river. Daniel ran to the edge, stones sliding under his boots. He looked down and his eyes widened. In the middle of the wild, freezing current, a small figure clung to a rock. The water smashed against her, trying to pull her under. Her body shook. Her hand slipped again and again for a moment. Daniel could not believe what he was seeing. The figure was not human, not fully. Her skin glowed faintly as if light lived inside it. Her hair floated around her head like silver threads, shining even in the dark. Her eyes, when she lifted them weakly toward him, were bright, not like any human eyes. Fear struck him. His mind said, "This is not possible," but his heart said, "She is drowning, she will die." And in that moment, he did not think of who she was, or what she was. He only thought of saving her. Daniel dropped his pack, threw off his jacket, and without another thought, he jumped. The icy river hit him like knives. Stealing his breath, the current dragged him down, spun him, but he fought, pushing toward the glowing figure. His arm screamed with pain, but he reached the rock. He grabbed her wrist. It was thin, trembling, cold as ice. She looked at him with wide eyes, her lips moving. A sound came from her mouth, soft, strange, not human words. Daniel held on tighter. "Hold on, I've got you," he shouted, though he knew she could not understand. The river tried to tear them away. Water rose over their heads. He pulled, his muscles burning. At last, he dragged her free from the rock and forced both their bodies toward the shore. The current fought him, smashing them against stones, spinning them again, but step by step, hand by hand, he made it with a final burst of strength. He pulled her onto the muddy bank, collapsing beside her. For a moment, neither of them moved. Daniel gasped, his chest on fire, his arms dead with pain. The girl lay beside him, her skin pale, glowing softly in the dark. Her chest rose weakly, her breath shallow, but she was alive. Daniel turned to her, his heart still racing. Up close, she looked young, maybe like a teenage girl in human years. But her features were sharper, her skin almost smooth like glass. A faint light pulsed under her skin, like blood made of stars. Her eyes opened slowly, fixing on him. She whispered something, a single word in her strange language. The sound was soft, almost like music. Then her eyes closed again, and she fell into silence. Daniel knelt there, shivering from cold, staring at her. What had he just done? Who was she? What was she? His mind swirled with questions. But there was no time. She was weak, dying maybe. She needed warmth, she needed help, and no one else was here. Daniel lifted her carefully in his arms. She was lighter than he expected. Fragile, almost weightless, her skin was freezing. Yet it burned faintly with that strange glow. The wind blew hard. The river roared behind him. He knew he could not leave her there, step by step. He carried her up the trail toward his cabin. The forest loomed around him, dark, whispering with every gust of wind. It felt as if unseen eyes watched from the shadows. He shook the thought away, but still his skin crawled. When he reached the cabin, he pushed the door open with his shoulder. Inside, the small room smelled of wood and smoke. He laid her on the bed, wrapping her in thick blankets. Her face was pale, but the light under her skin flickered stronger now. He sat beside her, staring, trying to make sense of it all. He reached for the lantern. Setting it near her face, her eyes opened again. Just a little, she looked at him, and for a heartbeat, he felt as if she was looking deep inside him. Her lips moved, whispering the same word again. Daniel leaned closer, but he could not understand. Then she closed her eyes once more. Drifting into sleep, Daniel sat there, wet clothes clinging to his skin, his body shaking with cold, his mind filled with fear, with wonder, with questions. He had come to the mountains to escape noise, to escape people. But tonight he had found something no human was ever meant to find. A dying alien girl, glowing in the dark, lying now in his bed. And outside, beyond the cabin walls, the storm raged on, as if the world itself knew something had begun, something he could not yet understand. The storm did not end that night. Rain crashed against the cabin roof, thunder shook the air, and wind screamed through the trees. Daniel sat by the fire, his eyes never leaving the strange girl on the bed. Her skin still glowed faintly under the blankets. Her breath slow but steady. Every sound outside made him glance at the door, afraid someone or something might come looking. He could not sleep, not even for a moment. His mind ran in circles. What was she? Where did she come from? And why did he feel that saving her was only the beginning of something far bigger than himself? When dawn came, gray light filled the cabin. Daniel moved closer to her, checking if she was alive. Her eyes opened suddenly. Bright and unnatural, he almost jumped back. But her gaze was calm, weak, almost gentle. She tried to speak, her voice like a whisper carried by wind. The words were strange, smooth, musical. Nothing he could understand. Daniel shook his head slowly. "I don't understand," he said softly. She frowned as if frustrated, then touched her chest. Her hand glowed faintly. She spoke again, repeating a sound, her name maybe. It was short, sharp, but beautiful. Daniel tried to copy it, his voice clumsy. Her eyes softened, and for the first time she almost smiled. The fire crackled. Shadows danced on the walls. For hours he tried to speak with her, pointing to objects, saying the words, letting her repeat in her strange voice bit by bit. They built small bridges of understanding. She learned water, fire, safe, and Daniel learned her name. It sounded like Alara, not exact, but close enough. And when he said it, her eyes lit up. By noon, she was strong enough to sit. Her hands rested on her knees, glowing softly. Daniel noticed something strange. The lantern beside her flickered on and off, though he had not touched it. He frowned, staring. Alara lifted her hand, and the light obeyed her, glowing brighter, then fading again. Daniel's heart skipped. She looked at him carefully. As if measuring his reaction, he whispered, "What are you?" But she only shook her head, lowering her hand as if to say, "Not now." Hours passed. Daniel gave her food, though she ate little. He gave her water, and she drank slowly, her fingers trembling. Every moment she grew stronger, but with her strength came a new tension. She looked off into the window, her glowing eyes filled with worry, as if danger waited in the forest, hidden, watching that night. When the storm cleared, Daniel stepped outside. The forest smelled of wet pine. The river roared far below, but something felt wrong. The air was too still, too heavy. He looked at the sky and saw faint lights moving. Not stars, not planes. They slid silently across the clouds, blinking in patterns he had never seen. A cold shiver went through him. He turned back quickly to the cabin, heart pounding. Inside, Alara was standing now, unsteady but awake. She pointed toward the sky, her face pale, her glow dimming. She spoke words quickly, urgent, her hands trembling. Daniel could not understand, but he saw the fear in her eyes. Someone or something was searching. She moved closer to him, touched his arm. Her eyes held his. Deep and strange, in broken words, she whispered, "Help me, home." The sound was soft, desperate, but clear enough. Daniel felt his throat tighten. He had no idea where home was for her, but in that moment, he knew he could not say no. He nodded slowly. "I'll help." Her eyes softened with relief, her shoulders trembling. She whispered her strange word again, her name, and for the first time, Daniel felt trust between them, but that trust carried weight. It meant danger would follow them. It meant the world outside his cabin was no longer safe. That night, Daniel tried to sleep, but his dreams were strange. He saw endless forests filled with glowing rivers, cities of light hidden under mountains, shadows moving in the sky, and a voice, Alara's voice, whispering words he did not understand. He woke with sweat on his face. The fire burned low. Alara sat awake by the window, staring at the dark trees, her glow faint, her eyes full of fear. Suddenly a low hum filled the night. Daniel froze, listening. It was not thunder, not wind. It was deeper, mechanical. Echoing through the forest, Alara turned to him sharply, whispering fast in her language, her face pale. She raised her hand and the lantern light flickered wildly. As if reacting to her fear, Daniel's heart pounded. He stepped to the window and saw faint red lights weaving between the trees. Not lanterns, not flashlights, something else. Something searching, moving closer. He looked back at Alara and she nodded quickly, whispering one word in English she had learned. "Hide." The hum grew louder, the red lights brighter. Daniel pushed her gently toward the back of the cabin. His mind raced, fear in every breath. He had saved her life once. But now he wondered if he could save her again, because whatever was out there in the forest was not human, and it was coming straight for them. The red lights vanished before morning. The forest was silent again. The only sound the river below and the whisper of the wind through the trees. Daniel barely slept, sitting near the door with a heavy stick in his hands. Waiting, listening, Ilara rested under the blanket. Her faint glow soft and calm now, but her face still pale with worry. When the sun rose, she sat up slowly. Her strange eyes looked at Daniel, serious, almost heavy with meaning. She touched her chest, then pointed toward the mountains. Far away, hidden behind fog, in broken English she whispered, "Home." There. Her voice was weak, but her message was clear. Daniel stared at her for a long moment. He thought of his quiet life, his simple plans, the safety of staying here. But when he looked into her glowing eyes, he knew the choice was already made. He could not abandon her. He had risked his life in the river, and now he would risk it again on the journey. He packed quickly, food, rope, a small flashlight, matches. Ilara stood close, watching, learning each word he said for every item, repeating softly. Her memory was sharp, her voice musical. Even in fear, she tried to understand. That effort made Daniel trust her more. By noon, they stepped into the forest. The air smelled of pine and wet earth, the ground soft under their boots. Ilara walked slowly at first, her body still weak, but every step seemed to make her stronger. Her glow brightened in the shade, guiding the way like a quiet lantern. For hours they climbed higher, deeper into the mountains. The forest grew darker, the trees older, their branches heavy like ancient arms. Daniel felt eyes watching, though he saw nothing. Birds were silent, animals hid. Even the river's roar seemed distant now, swallowed by the thick woods. At one point, Daniel stopped suddenly. Ahead between the trees, something flashed. Metal, moving. He pulled Ilara down behind a fallen log. His heart racing. Through the leaves, he saw a drone, black and smooth, gliding silently above the ground. Its red lights blinked slowly. Sweeping across the forest, it passed, humming low. Daniel held his breath until it was gone. Ilara's hand gripped his arm tightly. Her glow dimmed. She whispered in her language, fear in every sound. Daniel only nodded, his throat dry. He understood enough. They were being hunted. The journey grew harder as they climbed. Steep rocks, narrow paths, slippery mud from the rain. Daniel's body ached. But Ilara moved with strange grace. Her steps were light, almost floating at times. She guided him, showing easier paths. It felt as if the forest itself recognized her, opening ways for her feet. As night fell, they found shelter under a wide stone arch. Hidden deep in the mountain, Daniel lit a small fire, its smoke curling into the dark sky. Ilara sat across from him, her glow mixing with the firelight. She touched the ground and drew shapes with her finger. Glowing lines that faded after seconds, mountains, stars, rivers, strange symbols Daniel could not understand. But he knew one thing: she was showing him her world. She wanted him to see, to know, to believe. When he pointed at the largest glowing star she drew, she nodded slowly, her voice soft. She whispered, "My sky." Then she looked at him with eyes full of sadness. Daniel felt his chest tighten. She was far from home, alone, afraid. And yet she trusted him, a simple man with no power, no knowledge of her world. Suddenly a sound broke the moment. A howl in the distance, long and sharp, not like any wolf Daniel had ever heard. Ilara's glow flickered. She stood quickly. Looking into the darkness, Daniel grabbed his stick. His body tense. The howl came again. Closer, deeper, almost metallic. He felt the air vibrate with it. This was no natural animal. The fire crackled. Shadows stretched, then silence, heavy and crushing. Daniel's hand tightened on the stick, sweat cold on his back. He whispered, "Stay close." Though he knew she did not need translation. Her eyes never left the trees, glowing brighter now, ready. Minutes crawled like hours. Finally the sound faded, swallowed by the night, but the fear stayed. Daniel realized they could not rest long. Whoever or whatever hunted them was near. Every step they took was a race against time. Later, as they walked under the moonlight, Daniel noticed something strange. The forest opened to a small clearing, and the plants there glowed faintly, blue and silver. Like stars scattered across the ground, Ilara's face softened, her eyes wide. She knelt and touched one of the glowing flowers gently. Her voice whispered something like a prayer. Daniel watched, confused but moved for a moment. She looked less afraid, more like herself. It was as if this place remembered her, as if Earth still held pieces of her people, hidden and forgotten. When they left the clearing, Ilara turned to him and whispered one word clearly: "Safe." It was the first word she had spoken in English without mistake. Daniel nodded, his chest warm with pride and hope. But inside he knew it was only a small safety. The journey was just beginning, and danger was closing in from every side. For 2 days, Daniel and Alara moved deeper into the mountains. The path grew harder, cliffs rose higher, and the forest turned darker. Food became less. Water was cold and sharp from the streams, but Alara walked with steady steps now, stronger with every mile. Her glow no longer faint but brighter, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. On the 3rd evening, as the sky turned red with sunset, Alara stopped suddenly, her strange eyes fixed on the horizon. She lifted her hand and pointed through the mist. There, hidden between 2 ridges, lay a valley no map had ever shown, a place where the trees seemed taller, the ground shimmered faintly. It was as if light itself bent around it, hiding it from human sight. Daniel stared, his mouth dry. He had lived near these mountains for years, but he had never seen such a place. It was both beautiful and unsettling. The valley looked alive, as if it was waiting. When they entered, the air changed. It was warmer, filled with scents of flowers he did not know. Plants glowed softly blue and silver, bending toward Alara as if greeting her. The ground pulsed faintly under his boots. Like a heartbeat deep inside the earth, Daniel whispered, "What is this place?" Alara turned to him, her eyes shining brighter than ever. She placed her hand on her chest, then on the glowing soil. "Home," before she said slowly. Her voice carried both pride and sorrow. Daniel followed her as she moved deeper into the valley. He saw ruins among the trees, stone arches, smooth metal half buried in moss, strange markings carved into rocks glowing faintly as if alive. It was not human work. It was ancient, forgotten, but not dead. Alara touched one of the arches with her fingers. The stone lit up, lines of light spreading like veins. She closed her eyes, whispering in her own language for a moment. Daniel felt the ground hum beneath his feet. The plants around them bent closer, glowing brighter. It was as if the valley itself remembered her. But then her glow dimmed, her shoulders shaking. She stepped back quickly, pain on her face. Daniel caught her before she fell. "What's wrong?" he whispered, fear in his chest. She struggled for words in English. "Broken. Empty. Hunted." Her voice cracked with fear. Daniel looked around, suddenly feeling the same unease. The beauty of the valley no longer comforted him. It felt too quiet, too still, as if something was missing or watching. He remembered the red lights in the forest, the strange machines. If this valley was her old home, then surely her enemies knew of it too. Night came and they lit no fire. Instead, Alara guided him to a cave hidden behind glowing vines. Inside, the walls shimmered faintly with symbols that pulsed like stars. Daniel traced them with his fingers. They were smooth, carved with precision no human tool could match. Alara sat beside him, her eyes glowing softly. She spoke slowly, breaking English words, filling gaps with her own language. Daniel listened, piecing together her meaning. Long ago, her people had lived here, hidden from humans. They were travelers, not conquerors, seekers of quiet worlds, but they were hunted, chased across the stars by an enemy that fed on their light. Many escaped, some stayed, but one by one they disappeared. Until she was alone, Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at her, fragile yet strong, the last of her kind here. And now she was hunted again, he whispered. "You are not alone now." She looked at him, her eyes wet with strange silver tears. For a moment her glow brightened as if his words gave her strength. The cave grew colder as the night deepened. Daniel tried to rest, but his mind would not stop. Every sound outside made him tense. Every shadow felt like a threat. Alara sat awake too, watching the entrance. She seemed to sense something he could not. Her body stiff, her glow faint, her eyes sharp. Then it came, a low vibration in the earth. Too steady to be thunder, Daniel sat up, heart racing. The walls of the cave shook softly, dust falling from the ceiling. Outside, the plants trembled, their glow flickering. Alara grabbed his arm, her voice urgent. "They come." Daniel rushed to the cave entrance, peering into the dark valley. At first, he saw nothing but glowing trees and silver mist. Then he heard it, the hum, deep and mechanical. Red lights moved slowly between the trees. More than before. 1, 2, 5, 10, an army of machines searching. The valley glowed, betraying every movement. Daniel's blood turned cold. Alara's hand trembled in his. Her glow pulsed faster, brighter. As if answering the machines, she whispered in fear. Words he could not understand, but he did not need translation. He knew the truth. The valley was not only her home, it was also a trap, and now the hunters had found them. The valley did not sleep that night. Red lights moved like fireflies of war between the trees. The hum of machines shook the earth. Steady and cold inside the cave, Daniel held his breath, his hand gripping a rock as if it could protect him. Beside him, Alara glowed faintly, her face pale but her eyes sharp. She touched the cave wall. Symbols lit up again, brighter this time, lines of silver racing across stone like rivers of light. The air warmed, the hum of hidden power filled the cave. Daniel stepped back, eyes wide. Alara whispered words in her own tongue. Quick, soft, urgent, the ground beneath them vibrated. The wall split with a deep sound, and before Daniel's eyes the stone opened, revealing a hidden passage. Alara, he whispered, but she only looked at him with determination. Her trembling hand pointed inward. Home, she said clearly. Her voice carried both hope and fear. They stepped inside. The passage was narrow, glowing lines guiding their steps deeper into the mountain. Daniel's skin prickled, every hair rising. It felt alive, like the mountain itself breathed around them. At last they entered a chamber, vast, silent, and filled with strange machines covered in dust. Silver towers, broken screens, smooth metal chairs, an ancient base hidden for centuries. Alara moved quickly, her hands brushing across controls that lit up at her touch. The machines hummed weakly, some alive, some dead. Daniel watched in awe as the room glowed. She spoke in her strange tongue, her voice commanding. For a moment, the machines responded, lights growing stronger, screens flashing symbols, but then a sharp alarm echoed through the chamber. Red symbols appeared, pulsing fast. Alara froze, her face turning white. What is it? Daniel whispered. She shook her head, whispering in broken English. Signal. Not safe, and they hear. Daniel's chest tightened. By trying to call home, she had called the hunters. The hum outside grew louder, the machines in the valley moving closer. Daniel grabbed her hand, pulling her away from the console. We have to go, he shouted. But before they could run, the chamber shook violently. The entrance split open and shadows filled the room. They came, tall black figures, smooth and sharp like machines with no faces. Their eyes burned red, their bodies moved without sound. At least 6 of them entered, their limbs bending in ways no human body could. Daniel's blood ran cold, his body screamed to flee. But Alara stood tall, her glow flaring. She raised her hands and light burst from her palms. A wave of silver energy crashed against the figures, throwing 2 back. The others staggered but pressed forward. Daniel grabbed a heavy metal rod from the floor. Fear filled him, but he refused to stand back. He swung at one figure, the rod sparking against its black armor. The impact shook his arms, but the machine staggered. Another lunged at him, red claws slicing the air. He ducked, rolling across the floor, his heart pounding like thunder. Alara cried out, her glow dimming as the fight drained her. The figures surrounded them, red eyes flashing in the dark. Daniel's body shook with fear, but he shouted, "No!" and charged, swinging the rod again. Smashing into another machine's chest, it screeched, sparks flying. Falling to the ground, the others turned on him. Claws raised, red light burning. Daniel braced for the end. But then Alara screamed, a sound that shook the chamber itself. Her glow exploded into blinding light. The machines staggered, their red eyes flickering. She pushed her hands outward, and a wall of silver energy burst forth. The hunters were thrown back, crashing into the walls. Their bodies sparking violently, silence fell. Broken only by the hum of broken machines, Daniel gasped for breath, his arms weak. Sweat burning his eyes, Alara collapsed to her knees, her glow fading. Daniel rushed to her, lifting her up. She was trembling, weak, her face pale. He whispered, "I've got you. I won't let go." The chamber shook again, dust falling from above. Daniel looked up and saw cracks spreading across the ceiling. The fight had damaged the ancient base. It was collapsing. He lifted Alara in his arms, her body light. She whispered in broken English, "Not safe, not yet." "More come." Daniel ran, the walls shaking around him. Behind them, sparks exploded, machines breaking apart. The sound of metal tearing filled the air. At the cave's entrance, he saw more red lights moving in the valley. Not 6, not 10, dozens, hundreds. The hunters had found them, and there was no way to stay hidden now. They reached the forest edge just as the base collapsed behind them. The ground shook, dust and light rising like a storm. Daniel stumbled, falling to his knees. Still holding Alara, her glowing eyes looked at him. Weak but burning with determination, she whispered, "Fight." Run! Hope! Her voice cracked but carried weight. Daniel nodded, his chest heavy but fierce. He had saved her once, he had promised to help, and now, even against impossible odds, he would not stop. The valley glowed red with hundreds of hunter lights. The night air hummed with machines moving closer. Daniel stood, holding her tightly. The choice was gone, there was no return. No safe home, only survival and the long fight ahead. The forest swallowed them after the escape. Branches whipped against Daniel's face. Roots caught his boots, but he did not stop. Ilara clung to his shoulder, weak but awake, her glow faint and shaking like a candle in the wind. Behind them, the valley thundered with the sound of collapsing stone and marching machines. The night air burned with red light, spreading across the mountains like a net. For hours they ran until the forest grew silent again. Daniel stopped at a hollow tree, laying Ilara gently inside. He bent over, gasping for breath. His chest burning, every muscle screamed. But his heart told him one truth: stop and they would die. Ilara touched his arm weakly, her eyes dim. She whispered one word: safe. Little. Daniel nodded, though he did not believe it. He listened to the forest, silent, too silent. The hunters were clever, patient, they could wait as long as they wished. At dawn, Daniel built a small fire. Hiding the smoke under thick branches, Ilara sat close, staring at the flames as if lost in thought. Finally, she spoke in broken English, slow, heavy. My people, long ago, trusted humans. Mistake. Her eyes filled with sadness, silver tears shining softly on her cheeks. Daniel leaned closer, frowning. What do you mean? She hesitated, her glow flickering. Then she drew lines in the dirt with her finger, a circle for the earth, smaller circles for ships around it. She whispered, we come. Peaceful. Humans promise. Peace too. But betrayal. Daniel's stomach twisted. She looked at him with sharp eyes, her voice trembling but fierce. Some humans. Sell us. Give us to hunters. The words cut like a blade. Daniel froze, staring at the dirt drawing. His chest felt heavy with shame. Even though he had nothing to do with it, he whispered, not all humans are like that. But Ilara only lowered her gaze. Silent for the first time, Daniel felt her pull away from him. The trust he thought he had built now cracked. It hurt more than he expected. He had risked his life again and again. Yet the sins of others still stood between them. But before he could speak, a sound broke the silence. Footsteps. Heavy, steady, too close. Daniel jumped up, gripping his stick. The forest split. And a figure stepped out, tall, cloaked. His face hidden by shadows, Ilara gasped, her glow flaring. She whispered a word Daniel did not understand, her voice sharp with fear and shock. The stranger stopped a few feet away, raising his hands slowly. His voice was low, smooth, not human. Ilara, he said, her name clear and heavy with meaning. Daniel's grip tightened on the stick. Who are you? He demanded. The figure's head turned toward him, eyes glinting faintly silver in the dark. Protector, he said simply. Ilara's breath caught. Her body trembling, she stepped forward. Her voice shaking. Lies, she whispered in her own tongue. The figure lowered his hood, his face was like hers, glowing skin, sharp features. But older, worn, Daniel's heart jumped. He was like her, another of her kind, not the last, not alone. The stranger's eyes softened on Ilara. I was sent to guard you, he said slowly. His English broken but clear. You lost, hunted. I find you now. Ilara shook her head, tears falling. No, you left. You left all of us. Her voice cracked with anger. Daniel stood frozen, watching the storm of emotions between them. Hope and hatred, love and betrayal, all in her glowing eyes. The stranger's face tightened with guilt. I tried, he whispered. Hunter's too strong. I fail. His head lowered, shame heavy in his posture. But Daniel did not trust him. Something in his voice felt too smooth, too easy. He had seen men lie before, and this felt the same. He stepped closer, pointing the stick. If you're a protector, why wait until now? The stranger's silver eyes narrowed, his voice grew sharp. Because, human, you would not understand. Ilara stood between them, torn, her hands raised. Her glow flickered wildly. Caught between light and shadow, Daniel felt the ground shift. This was no reunion. This was the edge of betrayal, but who would betray? The stranger? Or Ilara, if she chose to trust him? Suddenly, a sound cracked the air. The hum of machines. Closer than ever, red lights flashed through the trees. The hunters had followed, surrounding the forest. The stranger stepped forward, his glow rising, his eyes burning silver. Too late, he hissed. Daniel's stomach sank. Was it a warning or a trap? Ilara looked at both of them, her face torn. Daniel shouted, "Choose!" "We don't have time." Her eyes burned with tears, her glow trembling, she whispered, "Truth. Soon, but now. Fight." The forest erupted. Shadows moved. Red eyes lit the trees, claws slicing through branches. Daniel swung his stick, striking one machine down, sparks flying. Ilara raised her hand, silver light bursting outward, and the stranger, whether friend or enemy, joined the fight. His glow flared brighter than fire, blasting the hunters back. The forest became a storm of light and darkness. Machines falling, trees burning with sparks. The ground shaking. Daniel fought with every breath, every ounce of strength beside him. Ilara and the stranger shone like twin stars, but in the chaos, one thought haunted him. If the stranger was truly her protector, why had she looked at him with so much pain? And if he was not, then the real betrayal was yet to come. The forest burned with light, red from the hunters. Silver from Ilara and the stranger, branches snapped, sparks flew. The ground shook with every clash. Daniel fought like a man with nothing left to lose. His arms heavy, his chest on fire, but still he swung, still he stood. Because giving up meant Ilara's end. Beside him, the stranger was a storm of power. His body glowed brighter than Daniel thought possible. Every wave of his hand sent hunters crashing against the trees. Yet in his eyes, Daniel saw no warmth, only cold fire. Fierce, merciless, not the look of someone who fought for love or loyalty. Ilara's glow flickered between them. She pushed her hands outward, silver light exploding, buying seconds of peace. She gasped, falling to her knees. Daniel rushed to her, lifting her gently. Her skin was hot, her breath short. She was burning her life away to fight. He whispered, "Stay with me, Ilara, don't stop now." Her strange eyes met his, full of sorrow. She whispered one word, soft but clear, "Choice." The stranger stepped forward, his voice sharp. "She must leave, human. She cannot stay. If she stays, hunters destroy all." His silver gaze pierced Daniel. "You are nothing to them. She is everything. Give her to me and I save her." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to believe him, but something deep inside screamed no. He looked at Ilara, trembling in his arms. She stared at the stranger with pain in her eyes, not trust. Her glow shook as if torn between light and shadow. The hunters regrouped, their red light spreading wider, dozens, then hundreds, crawling through the forest like fire ants. The hum rose until the earth itself vibrated. The stranger raised his hands, his glow flaring. "I can hold them," he growled, "but only if she comes with me." "She is mine to protect," Daniel shouted back, his voice raw. "She's not yours. She's not anyone's." The stranger's face darkened, his glow flaring dangerously. "You do not understand, human. Without me, she dies." Ilara coughed, silver tears falling. Her trembling hand reached out, touching Daniel's chest, her voice weak but steady. "Not your fight, but you fight, still." Her eyes filled with warmth. "Heart, strong, brave, human." Daniel's throat burned. He wanted to scream, to cry, to run, but instead he stood, his stick raised, his body broken but unyielding. "If she chooses, it's her choice, not yours, not mine, hers." For a moment the world went silent. Only the hum of hunters filled the air. Ilara's glow brightened suddenly. She pushed herself to her feet, her body trembling like fire in a storm. She looked at the stranger, her face fierce. "No more lies," she said in broken English. "You leave us. You let us die. You not protect her?" The stranger's eyes widened. His glow faltering, Daniel felt the air shift. Ilara raised both hands high, silver light pouring from her body like a rising sun. The hunters froze, their red lights flickering wildly. The stranger staggered back, shielding his eyes. Her glow grew brighter, brighter still, until the forest shone like daylight. Daniel shielded his face, but he did not look away. He saw her for what she was, not weak, not hunted, not broken, but powerful, burning with life, refusing to bow to fear or betrayal. Her voice rang through the forest, not broken now, but strong and clear. "I choose my path." The light exploded outward. Hunters screamed, their red eyes shattering, their bodies bursting into sparks. The ground shook, trees bent, the air itself cracked with sound. The stranger roared, his glow fighting hers, but her light swallowed his. In seconds, the forest was clean. The hunters gone, the stranger thrown to the ground. His glow dim, silence followed. Heavy and deep, Ilara collapsed, her glow faint but alive. Daniel caught her, holding her close. Her voice was weak, trembling. Portal. Now, he looked around in confusion. But then, in the clearing ahead, silver light twisted the air. A circle formed, glowing brighter, humming like a heartbeat. A door to another world, her home. Daniel's chest ached. He wanted to beg her not to go, but he knew she had to. Her world needed her, and Earth was not safe for her. She touched his hand, pressing something small and glowing into his palm. A crystal. Pulsing faintly with silver light, her eyes met his, filled with gratitude and something deeper. Key, she whispered. For you, for future we meet. Again. Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to speak, but no words came. She stepped toward the portal, her glow flickering weak but steady. She looked back one last time, her eyes soft. Then she walked into the light and she was gone. The forest fell silent, only smoke and broken trees around him. Daniel stood alone, the crystal warm in his hand. Glowing softly, he stared at it, his chest heavy with loss and wonder. The portal vanished, leaving only darkness and silence. But as he looked at the crystal, he felt it. A hum deep inside, alive, waiting. And he knew this was not the end. The fight was not over. Elara had given him more than hope. She had given him a piece of her world. And one day the choice would come again. The screen fades on Daniel standing alone in the ruined forest, holding the glowing crystal tightly. His face is tired but unbroken. In the distance, thunder rolls, not from the storm but from something greater rising beyond Earth.